All right. This is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
finally
Sorry.
happening. And it's who would have
Sorry?
thought? It's finally happening, and like who would have
Yeah.
thought?
Yeah. That's one thing I like about you. Like when I told you about this idea, like you really want to get it started, so thank you for that.
No problem. It's just I think it's sick if I can see you do this with other people and all that stuff.
Yeah. I
Like
was think okay, cool. Okay, so this is gonna be episode one of the podcast. We haven't figured out a name for it, but
Indian.
this is my friend Adrian Ranganthan. So my first question for you is, what is your middle name?
Oh, so you heard? Okay. So middle name is actually Anushanth.
Can you spell that out, Anushanth?
Anush. Wait. Anushanth.
Anushanth. Actually, now that you mention it, I think you've told me about it before.
It's close to Anushan's name. Very similar
Oh,
sounding
yes.
and spelling, but interesting stories that thing is something that my friends haven't discovered about me till probably grade 12, and they were kind of in a pretty big shock and surprised that I haven't been I didn't let them in on this.
Oh,
This is and the only reason they found out is because on my health card, it shows you the initial, and I think it was Shine. He found out there's an initial for why is there an A on the as an initial for your on your health card and stuff, and then I kind of got exposed from there.
hmm. Uh, and if you know the story behind this, like, why did your parents decide to name you Adrian as your first name, which is like a pretty like white name versus
Yeah.
Anushanth?
So the story I've been told by my parents is that my parents, I guess, consulted another friend, my dad's friend, who was Christian, and then I guess they kind of suggested having a white kind of name, and then I guess my parents' input was a middle name that they
Hmm.
had.
I think it's a pretty good balance. Like I've heard a lot of stories of people wanting more white names for like more pronounceable names for like their kids.
Yeah, it's I guess it's nice to have a bit of both, but then Adrian is what kind of stuck with this. But with my cousins and stuff, they refer to me as an Anushanth.
Oh yeah?
When they hear my other friends call me Adrian and stuff, they're like, "Wait, who's that again?" And like, "Oh wait, yeah, that's his middle name. That's the first name that he goes by with in school."
And your sister's name is not like a typical white name, right? Like
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't know.
okay.
I guess it's a
Okay.
combination, or it's a unique name too. So
Yeah. Okay, we're not trying to expose who your sister is, so we'll just move on.
uh,
So
yep.
what I've seen in like podcasts, like they'll give a bit of background.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've written, it was we've attended the same high school, Albert Campbell Collegiate Institute.
Yep.
We were first, from my memory, we were first introduced,
Calculus.
uh, yes, during calculus with Mr. Abdalal. When I was
Yep.
typing this out, I typed Professor Abdalal, and I'm like, yo, that sounds kind of weird. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, I know.
we didn't call them professor. And my first memory was him trying to teach me some concepts.
Me trying to teach you concepts.
Yeah, like
Oh,
you were sitting in the
where?
very back, right, with Courtney and was it Matura?
Yep.
Was there
And
one more?
Keshavan, I think.
Oh, yes,
You
yes,
the other guy
yes.
that was there.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I remember in the
Um,
back of the classroom and the back left.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was trying to remember which student groups you were part of. Can you just say it because you know better than me?
Student groups?
Yes, in high school.
I don't think I've been in many. I haven't actually been committed to a lot of them, but in grade 12 when you have that sudden urge to join a lot of clubs to get your resume filled up and to get activities and extracurriculars under your belt. So from that, I think I joined Ath Council,
Yes.
having no experience in athletics or any team sports or anything like that. I think we kind of joined the robotics team, as in
Uh-huh.
we more what we did was we kind of helped them get the 3D printer started.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually didn't do anything with the robotic stuff. We were kind of like the acquisition team, and then we went out there and we got this 3D printer for them that they can kind of build from scratch. So we went to a store that sells all the parts for the 3D printer, and the robotics team actually put the 3D printer
Oh.
together.
So they had
Dong, do you remember him?
Dong, yeah. Dong
Yeah,
actually lives down my street.
still?
No, I think he moved to somewhere in the States and he's living there now.
Oh,
Yeah, but he used to when lived around here. Okay, so let's see, where should we start? And another thing that I've learned is when starting off with like questions, you want to like warm them up so you ask them like easier questions, and then
mm-hmm.
afterwards you can get into more like in-depth questions.
Yeah, like how was your
So,
day or those
sorry,
kind of questions?
sorry.
Like how was your day or those kind of questions?
I think it's more like simple stuff like what I asked you, like, can you tell me about your experience with like high school
Okay.
versus like,
They're
uh,
like, what is your name kind of questions.
yeah. So like I don't start off with what's something that was truthfully very difficult for you in your life. Like imagine starting off something with
Just jump
that.
right into the deep end.
Yeah. You are
Yeah.
a lifeguard.
Hey, that's true. You got your regular resume.
Oh yeah. Oh,
It is,
okay.
by the way, the longest day of the year today. First day of summer.
Today?
Today, yeah.
Wait, summer didn't start yet?
No, today's the where when it officially starts. So going forward from today, the days are actually going to be getting shorter. Today's the longest day of the year.
Wait, are we in spring right now?
Now technically we're in summer, but we were in spring yesterday and up until today.
Oh, interesting. That is
Yeah,
very
now
cool.
the days are only going to get shorter from now on.
Oh, like I have definitely noticed, like even looking outside, like it's like still bright outside and it's like
Yeah,
8:30.
I know it's going to probably be like that until 9:30.
Hmm. That is interesting. Okay, let's jump into some of the questions here.
Yeah,
So, my first question to you is, how would your best friend describe you? So, you don't have to tell us who your best friend is, but
describe. Whoa,
yeah.
I thought this was one of the easy questions to start out with.
Would you like
Um,
to have another question or
yeah, let's try that. I'll think that up. Think about
okay.
that.
Okay. We'll postpone that one and we'll come back. I'm gonna highlight it.
Okay.
Okay. So, why did you decide to pursue engineering?
Oh, well, this is like the typical question I get for job interviews too. I think.
Oh
Like,
yeah?
yeah, very like why are you doing this field
Oh,
and why
interesting.
do you want to do this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Um, Engineering, I think for me, I like the part where you get to see the behind the scenes stuff. You know how things work and all that stuff. For me, I always imagine a building and then you tear up away all the bricks and stuff, and you see all the piping and the conduits and all the wires and all that stuff. For me, I can just stare at that stuff all day. So
Jeez.
it's just cool how the things that are behind the walls that are making the big building functional and those kind of things. So I guess construction was more kind of what I was leaning towards, and then civil engineering was construction stuff. And then I think I just kind of went to, I just had it was on my radar kind of thing, and then I guess I didn't think too much about other fields, and then just
Mm.
slowly ended up in uh, engineering as a kind of as a default for myself.
And
But I
then
am happy that it was something I wanted to do. It wasn't forced or
mm,
uh, it wasn't like a mandatory thing that I had to do, and it was like a willing kind of entrance into the program.
well, I think it's interesting you mentioned that because, like, from stories that I've heard talking with some people from class, they they talked about how in Sri Lankan families it's like there's a lot of pressure to either be like a doctor, the accountant, or the lawyer, like those typical jobs.
Yeah,
And it's nice that your parents didn't force you to do that.
yeah.
So
I don't know if they just didn't care or if they were trying to be open, but yeah,
yeah,
they were supportive about that.
nice. And like, do you have like a memory of when you were first introduced to like seeing construction or like seeing a building being made that really were like that made you more interested in actually looking into it more?
go into my like one of my deepest memories. I remember. So this was before I was tall enough to even look beyond the window. Okay, so
So you cut off a bit there. Could you just repeat that?
so this is way back before I can even see over the windowsill. So I was actually I remember there was like a heating baseboard on that on the wall against the window, and I would actually climb over to look and I think there was in front of our house there was this one place where they I guess a water main something broke and they dug a huge trench and stuff and like that. And the construction crew was over there and all that stuff. And I just was like staring at that the whole day
Oh,
kind of thing. It's like what is happening kind of thing. And like,
yeah.
whoa, that's what's below our road and stuff. And like I wouldn't have ever noticed that there are pipes there kind of thing. And I would just watch them out of curiosity kind of thing.
And how old were you during that time?
I moved out of that building in grade one, or that unit in grade one. So at least 6 years old.
Jeez, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I also have to remember also doing the same thing for garbage trucks too. I remember when the garbage truck, because we lived in a building, there's that big dumpster that is in the common area beside the parking lot. So the dump truck, comes on a scheduled on a scheduled basis. So I would kind of thing, and I would know, oh, the garbage truck's coming today, and then I can climb on the heating board and then look over the windowsill and watch it do its thing.
Like, how is the garbage truck related to like building construction that initially interested you?
I, Now what the connection? I think it was just like a big machine stuff, maybe
Oh,
that part of it.
yeah.
Just having those big machines to move big things and like those kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Like
Interesting.
even today, I get excited when I'm beside an excavator and stuff, and I can watch the excavator do its thing and stuff. But now I don't have that much time or field work, I guess you could say, for
Hmm.
that. Those days are behind me.
Okay. So this one's so do you watch movies or read books?
Reading books, not really. I used to, but I keep telling myself that time is the excuse why I don't right now. Same thing for movies. Movies are kind of like a rare occurrence for me, but
Mm,
the
okay.
recent movie I watched was the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift because I think they finally put it on Netflix or something. So I finally
Oh,
got the chance to watch it and stuff.
so you have Netflix, but you don't watch that many movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let me
But
see.
this whole pandemic and stuff, giving time and stuff, I had more time to
Mhm.
catch up on shows and watch these random movies like Fast and Furious.
Nice. Okay, so I guess related to Fast and Furious, what are the two hotspot collisions on the 401?
Oh, so is this something you found out from my uh, project, my capstone project?
Just a random question.
Oh, okay. Because our capstone project is kind of related to this, so
Yeah, I got it from there. How else would I ask that question?
wait, did I put that on my resume?
No, no, it was on the link that I sent you. It
Yeah.
was a list of all the different capstone projects for the different like engineering
Oh, that's what that
groups.
was.
And then yeah, and then in the description it was I guess your mission statement or what you're trying to
Yeah.
accomplish. So
Oh, okay, I see. Because I guess Barley would have put my full name on it, right? Is that why
yeah,
it showed up when you searched it, I guess?
yeah.
Ooh, okay. I, according to a broad project, there is one spot near, I think Highway 6 in 401, which is kind of the road that takes you from 401 all the way to Guelph, which is where we focused on for our project. There is, let me see, I think a stretch on the 401 between the 400 and Keel, I think. That's also a hot spot. And then there's another one that's near Cambridge, where 401 kind of there's a part where Highway 8, I think, branches off from the 401, and then that's also another kind of hot spot. There's also a bunch, I think, in offshore or Ajax area, but we didn't get into that. That wasn't on the top three.
Interesting. It's good that you actually remember what you learned and it's like not like you
Oh,
just
that was
learn it and then it just goes out.
It was interesting. That was cool. The problem that we decided to tackle was kind of an impossible kind of problem, or like a really really big problem. Like how do you mitigate the effects of traffic during an emergency? So let's say there's an emergency, like we had to the first responders to arrive and they had to, let's say, shut down 2 lanes, and then this is happening during rush hour too. Then so now you already have congested traffic, and then you're making it worse by closing down 2 or 3 lanes to accommodate for the first responders. And then we're like, how can we solve this problem? Seems like a problem that super difficult, and everybody would want a solution to it, right? And if there
Yeah.
was a solution, wouldn't have already found one, but we did our best.
And then what did you figure out at the end of that project?
It may seem pretty trivial, but it was literally just add an extra lane. But instead of adding a lane on the entire stretch of a highway, we just added lanes on specific hotspots. So we're trying to use statistics to find out, oh, where would accidents be highly probable to occur in? And then at those spots, we would have an extra lane that would be a time when there's an emergency, when maybe 2 or 3 lanes had to be shut down. And then they would have like signages, and those signage would be like, oh, used when flashing. So if there is an accident,
Oh,
someone can turn on that light, and then it'll be flashing, and then it will give people permission to use it. So it's kind of like a mix
yeah.
between like an HOD lane and an emergency shoulder lane. So it's like a combination of that. And then we would only focus on areas where it's practical to use, and it's where there's a chance of an accident happening that's higher.
Oh. I think that's a pretty interesting idea of like having the flashing lights because I think downtown they have like certain streets where sometimes you can go in one direction and then but there's like
Yeah.
a light on the top that shows you like you can go this way, but then like other times of the day like the light changes and the road is going the other direction. Like have you
Oh,
what I'm
yes.
talking
Those
about?
are, I think, dynamic lanes where maybe during the morning rush hour, there's 4 lanes going eastbound, but then in the afternoon rush hour, there's more cars going westbound.
Uh,
More lanes are opened up for that, right?
I,
Is that the kind of
that
idea?
sounds right. Like
Yeah, we had
yeah.
that was one of our alternatives. So for our capstone project, we have to have maybe three or at least three alternatives, and then you had to pick one and then go with that for the second semester. So that was one of the alternatives that we had,
Hmm.
but it
And
was very impractical.
and since it was a capstone project, do you think it, you know, summed up what you've learned throughout all of the 4 years and actually had you apply it?
Uh, I don't, more so maybe the time management and the working with people and sticking to that kind of stuff. You have to, because it's very self-managed, you can say. It's between your teammates and colleagues to decide on how much work you're going to put and how much effort you're going to put in. There are some certain deadlines for deliverables, but that's supposed to help you keep on track. Because even in university, even in fourth year, there's like senioritis that might kick, and then you might not want to uh, put in the full effort. People would have already had jobs lined up for after
Oh.
graduation and stuff, and then what's the point in putting all the effort for these marks and kind of stuff?
Hmm.
So there's that. I think that's the more important part, the working with people and management stuff.
Nice.
Technical stuff, not as much, I think.
Hmm. Okay, so whenever there's like an activity, whether it's in class and it involves like helping people, like you're one of the people that I've always seen like there and willing to help. Like for example, volunteering at that seniors home where we like Anjana was organizing it with the teenagers and the autism with
Yeah, I
teenagers,
remember that.
and you were there. Uh, just like a bunch of countless times, you're always like helping out. So I'm just curious to, hear like what do you get from helping people? Like, do they pay you or anything?
Because I have nothing else better to do. No, I'm joking, but um, it's a I don't know. For me, it's nice seeing someone else succeed or become the better version of themselves, and uh, like I'll try to do my best to help accommodate to get that person to wherever they want to,
Hmm.
kind of thing. I like seeing that in films. Like that's the same reason why I wanted you to do this too, right? Like like you had that idea for the podcast, and I'm like, you know what, this is actually a pretty good idea. I was actually talking with Alhan about this and stuff, and he mentioned a podcast or something. I think Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
So I'm like that. I just that reminded me of you wanting to also start a podcast. And you know what? Let's try to get this started and stuff. And then you know we gotta we gotta take initiative. I guess is what
Hmm.
you can say. What was it?
I
I forgot what the original question was though. But
actually not. Well, hold on. Let me think. Oh, what do you get from helping people?
um,
But you basically answered it.
I hope I did. I hope I did.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the Joe Rogan podcast because he recently got a deal with Spotify where he sold it for like $100 million, which is pretty wild.
To have
And
conversations with people, eh?
yeah, they just talk and like they just talk shit and they like smoke and they drink and yeah, I think it's interesting. And he gets like millions of views on each of his videos.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of opportunities for podcasts now because I think vo voice communication is becoming increasingly more popular. So like
As
for
opposed
ex
to what?
I think it's like more accessible. So like if you post something on Spotify, people can just listen to it while they drive.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's not like you have to, sit down and listen to someone's podcast. Like you can be doing whatever and then
Yeah.
just listen to it and get
You
ideas
have to
from
give your
that.
full attention to it, like a
Yeah,
movie or a video or
yeah,
a YouTube video or something like that.
yeah. Okay. So
I
yeah,
used to listen to podcasts to go to sleep before.
you used to do that?
Back then, you know when you have back then when I had an iPod Touch, I
Yeah,
think
there's
sorry,
there's podcasts back then?
yeah, there were podcasts on iTunes and stuff, and then I think really I don't know if it's still famous, but How Stuff Works. It was a so I think it's a website that has like it's like educational and informational and stuff, and they had a podcast called Stuff You Should Know. So I would kind of wait for the weekly episode kind of
Wait,
thing.
what?
They just talk about like random stuff. So I can attribute half my general knowledge to, or some of my general knowledge to like their podcast kind of stuff. And then
Jeez.
I would just like listen to it and then start right when I'm going to sleep and stuff. And then sometimes more often than not, I would kind of fall asleep to it,
Hmm.
fall asleep to their episodes.
Okay. Well, while we're on the topic of sleep, does
Okay.
like how long does it take you to fall asleep? I-
It depends on how tired I am that day. If I had a lot of physical activity that day, I think too. If I had a lot of, if I'm exhausted physically, I can easily fall asleep. You know, and then on a day where maybe I was like sitting or just like sitting on a computer all day, um, but for me, I feel like if I take a long time to fall asleep. I'm very sensitive, or you can say a light sleeper. So even the slightest bit of snoring or kind of thing, it would throw me off and I can't sleep. You just ask all my friends like that when we go on sleepovers and stuff like that. If there's one person snoring in the room, like when we have our cottages and stuff, I would literally move to a next room or try to find another spot to. I decide to sleep on the floor sometimes under the coffee table, then sleep in the basement with all these other guys because I couldn't fall asleep.
I think it's like now that I'm thinking about you sleeping, I like what immediately comes to mind was one time at the Amrita house, we were sleeping on a bed of coats.
Oh yeah, yeah. Wasn't
Uh,
that in the Pickering house? That was in the
you're right,
Pickering
you're
house,
right, you're
right?
right. That was a Pickering house because
That was
there's
in the
no,
in the
yeah,
pink room.
yeah,
Where I think you just walked into me and I was just like lying on a bunch of pillows
yeah.
and
I
stuff.
didn't even notice, and then I was asking you if it's comfortable, and then you made some room on the coats. I think you like flattened it out a bit.
Yeah, and you knocked that too.
Yeah. Okay,
That
that is
was
hilarious. I,
beginning of 2020 was intense. A lot of things were happening. I think.
did it start out with Like what events?
I think it was like Shivaratri was happening, and then getting moving into the house. Like we started doing the picnic house, and then we had Sunday classes, and then
Oh,
some of us were looking into the sound equipment and stuff, and that kind of stuff. It was just very intense. And then now it just took a huge halt after March.
well, we're actually halfway through the year now, right?
Yeah, more than half, I'd say. I
Jeez.
mean, today is the summer solstice, so still bright outside, yeah?
Yep.
And it's
Okay.
8:47.
So,
How long do we planning on your podcast to be?
this is something that I have to test out. Actually, how much time do we have for today? Just so I know
However
to.
long you need, or
Okay.
we're testing waters, right? So
Well, how's this going so far for you in your
pretty good.
experience?
I like it. I'm not nervous, too nervous at all.
That's good
You
to
should
hear.
have heard my voice. Did you hear the nervousness in my voice yesterday? Were you there when I presented
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
with the memes and stuff?
Yeah. Were
Were
you
you able to?
nervous?
Oh yeah. I always try to prepare myself beforehand. Like, you know what? Take it slow. Just speak and have a conversation with people and stuff. And then somehow I just get pulled into the trap, and then I start speaking fast, and then uh, yeah.
I think I could tell a little bit, like
Mhm.
when you were trying to get to the next picture, like you would be typing it out, and I think you'd be talking faster because you want to,
Yeah,
not have people wait on whatever picture it is because you want to get to the next one.
exactly. Yeah. And then because I did you see how it names all the files or the pictures? I just put like one.
Bro, one, two, three. I was thinking about it. I'm like, yo, bro, you could have put it in a PowerPoint. Just did like,
I could have, yeah. But oh yeah, I know I could have. That's a good tip for next time. But
yeah. I no, but I was thinking about it too. I'm like, yo, Adrian's like a smart guy. Like, I'm sure he would have thought about a PowerPoint or putting it in a different format, but
that actually completely skipped my mind. I actually didn't think about a PowerPoint. I, I think it's because I haven't used a PowerPoint in such a long time. Like now with Canva and stuff like that, I think PowerPoint is becoming super outdated.
oh,
Or for me, PowerPoint is equated with like boring presentation or like a
mm,
boring corporate presentation
oh,
or a lecture from school.
geez, I haven't even thought about lectures. Oh, on the
Yeah.
topic of the memes, you said you found a meme generator. Like, what's the URL for that?
I just typed in meme generator in the first thing. I think it was like image flip or something. IMG flip.
Oh, yes, that is the first one.
Amazing tool, right? It's just I don't know. I feel like memes can speak to people in like a different level.
Yeah, bro, you one thing that I want to give advice to you on is you would have the meme and then you would describe the meme.
I
But
know you're
then
not
I feel
the
like people they know if they know the meme, you don't gotta describe it. Like all the
that's true.
memes, all the memes you showed, like I already knew like what the general theme is. But I guess if people don't know memes, then it's good to
Yeah.
describe it.
No, I think that's more of my nervousness trying to speak over so that I don't. There's no sudden or I mean a silence while the meme is being shown. But you're right, because
Oh,
like a joke, if you try to explain a joke, then it's
yeah,
not that funny, is it?
yeah. Okay, so I'm interested in hearing your process of actually getting your GTR. So I just want to give some context. So I remember I guess my first car that I've seen you with is the Nissan Altima, but you also mentioned you had a car that broke down
The Honda
and
Civic. Actually,
was it?
the Ultima today was the day I actually got rid of it.
Oh,
Like today
yeah.
is the day that we called the tow truck from this wrecking company, Standard Auto, and then they came over today and they finally took it over.
Wait, hold on. Are you getting paid by Standard Auto to advertise this or something?
No, no, this is not a sponsorship. But you see this is the video of it finally disappearing.
Jeez. So did they like pay you for it or like how did
Yeah,
it
they
work?
just gave me cash right on the spot. Like a guy just pull out his wallet kind of thing. It was a pre-arranged kind of amount. Like you have to talk to the administrator and stuff. Then she's like, oh, okay, this is your car. Does it have aluminum rims? If it does, apparently it's worth more. and then I guess they gave the driver that's the exact amount, and then he just gave to me
Mm,
straight in cash, and then hooked up the car, and then said my final farewell to it.
jeez. Did you like how much grand did you get from it?
No, it was only like $270.
How much did you buy it for?
I bought it for $2,750.
I think that's a pretty good
I
like
I used that car to its max, I think. And we took out
oh
speakers out of it because that audio system in that, it was a Bose audio system with like a Bluetooth connection and stuff. We stripped that out of it completely. We the side of my car got in a little accident when I was backing up, and then someone hit the side of my car. So he paid me $750. That's like half the value of a quarter of the value from the car return. I drove it for I think at least 50,000 kilometers, and the amount of memories and all the adventures that happened in there. I'm pretty sure people have their own experiences with the car themselves, and then I think it was completely worth it. It's lived its life out.
Hmm. Well, I think you mentioned how there's a specific way to drive the car too, right?
Oh, like I think like with any kind of car, or or that I remember what you're talking about. I think that's more because um, it's kind of getting old and stuff. So I wouldn't want just anybody else to drive it because then
Yeah.
if something did happen, they might not know how to react to it. So that was yeah, that's it. So that's two cars down: the Honda Civic and now the Altima.
And then how about the car now? Can you tell us about your experience with getting it and how it's like to actually drive it now?
It was like the GTR was a kind of car that I kind of wanted after noticing that all some of our friends getting all these cool cars and stuff.
Hmm.
And
So
yeah,
like who is a friend that had a cool car where you're like, wow, now I want to get a cool car?
I remember when Alahin got his 6 Series. I'm like, damn, this guy's 21 and he's already pulling up in a 6 Series and stuff like that, right?
Mm,
And I remember Nikshin getting his Benz C300,
hmm.
Rika getting her Audi A4, and I'm like, oh, okay, so these are kind of cars. And then the thing was that some of the cars available are now getting crossed off the list, so we only have a few more cars left. And then like Lakshmi got her Mustang and all that stuff. So I'm like, what's a good car that's pretty cool and it's also not like a not like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, kind of like that, something like that. Not like a hyper or supercar like that. So then the GTR came to mind, and then that I never told anyone, or like it was just like a thought in the back of my mind kind of thing, like, oh, it's not possible. So it was just like something I just kept to myself. And then around this time last year, I think, is when started graduating and stuff, and then it was also time for the Ultimas, like its life was coming to an end and stuff, and a new car was gonna be purchased, and then we're like, you know what? Why don't we go big or go home, kind of thing. And
Uh,
then for still even today, I got a car wash for the car and stuff, and when I walk up to it, it's still kind of like a shock. Like, whoa, that car is something that we're gonna be driving right now. So it probably happened over a span of a month, kind of thing. Since a month from telling Anna that, oh, you know what, maybe this car is something that we can possibly get into actually acquiring it, kind of thing. So going out, checking out the car, checking its, getting it inspected and stuff to make sure it's not gonna blow up within the first 2 weeks, kind of thing, and all that stuff. And then May 8th, I think we got the car.
so it's been about a year now since you've had it.
It's been a year of payments, yes.
Supercar, super costs.
Yep.
Mm, well, as someone who, drives his dad's, 2007 Mercedes, like like in my mind is like, yo, once I get a nice car, my life is gonna be set. Like I already know that's not gonna be the case, but that's what I keep thinking. I'm like, yo, I can't wait till I get like a nice car.
Yeah.
So as someone who has a nice car, what advice do you have for me as someone who's currently thinking what I'm thinking?
There's still certain parts where you need to get the car actually, and like hold the keys in your hand and drive and stuff to get there's that experience no one can kind of give to you kind of thing, right? Like recently I was thinking about this where I had this chicken curry kind of thing, and then
Okay.
I'll try I'll see how I can connect this, but I had this chicken curry, and then the gravy or the sauce kind of thing it has a very kind of addictive good kind of taste to it, right? I'm like, wait, what is this? It tastes kind of salty, and then I thought to myself, is it MSG kind of thing, right? Is this the flavor or the taste of MSG? And then I was trying to find out a way to verify this, right? Like, how would I know how MSG tastes like so I can compare it with this curry, right? Usually when I have a question or something like that, I can easily Google it, right? Like, oh, what is this or how to do this kind of thing. But then for this thing, I can't. Like, no matter how hard I try to Google or how hard you try to find out what MSG tastes like, you can't do it.
Sorry,
Then
hold
you
on.
can.
You're cutting off a little bit.
Okay, what was the last part you heard?
You can't really taste. You can't really tell what MSG tastes like, I think.
Yeah, you can't really. There's no way to taste MSG unless you actually go out there, get those packets of MSG and maybe like dab it with your finger and then taste it, right? That's the only way I can know that, oh, this is MSG, and then yes, they did put MSG in this gravy. So like I was saying, how there's no other way to experience it. It's this kind of same kind of thing with getting this car, like going through the actual process of, like, signing the lease agreement, like, whoa, this is real, this is the commitment, this is, and then driving the car, and then watching other people, seeing like other cars drive, and like, oh wait, I'm actually in a GTR kind of thing. And
Hmm.
those kind of experiences you can only get once you taste your MSG kind of thing, or else
Hmm.
there's no way to um or else it's just theoretical, I can say.
Hmm.
If that makes sense.
So,
You gotta taste the ice cream.
yep, you won't know what Heineken ice cream tastes like unless you taste it. You
Is
can
it
try
Heineken ice cream or Haagen Dazs, you mean?
I think it was Heineken. I
Isn't
think,
Heineken beer?
yeah.
Oh, this is Heineken ice cream?
Hold on. I think Anna was giving an example of this. Heineken
How's
ice.
my lighting? Is it kind of getting dark?
It's getting fuzzy, but I think this. Okay, that's better. It's like we just. It's like how it was when we first started when there was light out.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So on the topic of uh chicken,
Chicken,
um,
okay.
something that I've so my question so something that like if I were to have a cheat day of like a vegetarian not being a vegetarian having a cheat day, I'd probably get a jerk chicken poutine. So I want to ask you if you had a vegetarian cheat day, like what's one food that you would eat?
The funny thing is that I actually did have a vegetarian cheat day one day.
Oh yeah.
This was the story. What is? Do you want to know the story about it?
I'd love to hear it.
So this I think started probably in 2014, I think. So Ezra, he wasn't vegetarian, right? But he made an agreement that if he was willing to be vegetarian for 2 years, starting from that whatever date it was, I think January 10th, I would have to eat meat with him at the end of the bet if he completed, 2 years of being vegetarian. So he did it.
Were you vegetarian at this time too? Like
Yeah, I started in
okay.
2014, and then 2016 or 2017, 2017, yes. So 2017 January 10th, we went to Hakka. So that's what I would go to. I'll eat the chili chicken from Hakka. So we went to Hakka, and then we ordered chili chicken. We got it with the whole rice and everything, and then that's what we ate. And then
Jeez.
I was after, yeah, 2 years of being vegetarian and stuff, and then we had that. I think he also got some other meat stuff later on, but I'll leave that for his interview. I'll leave
We'll
his
be
side
looking
of the story.
forward to having them. So how was your experience with that like being
It was
vegetarian and then intentionally eating like
it was
real meat?
good. It was nice and good in the beginning, maybe like the first 3 bites, and then after that, it was kind of the excitement was over. It was just like
Ah,
another meaty kind of thing, and there wasn't a big hype to it. But
mm.
the initial stage building up to it, like, oh, this is it. We're finally gonna eat that greasy, succulent, crispy chili chicken and stuff. And then after that, it was whatever.
I think that's a very interesting point. Like I'm thinking about it like even in like high school when I would have like a jerk chicken poutine, like the first three bites are like the best, and after that it's just like whatever. And I think
Yeah,
like it would be a similar experience if I
kind of.
just
Yeah.
have it now.
I guess the only different part is that would that feeling still be there after being vegetarian for 2 years, or is it? Does that make sense?
Like which feeling?
So is that hype for the chicken still the same even after being vegetarian for 2 years? And then I guess the answer that I found out was that yes for the first three bites, and then after that it kind of
Oh,
subdues, and then it's not that hype.
so like are you ever tempted now to like
No,
want okay, that's pretty cool that you've
no, no, it's not. I mean, the smells and stuff that like that. When someone's having a barbecue or something like that, it smells good and stuff. But like, it's not like, oh, I need to have a steak right now.
hmm. Like something that I do is I'll watch this guy on YouTube and he eats like food basically, and like
Okay.
it looks so like he'll be ordering like Wendy's, like McDonald's, like KFC, and he'd be like biting into like the chicken and stuff, and I'm like looking at him like, wow,
That succulent chicken, that
yeah,
that tender chicken breast.
relax, dude.
I'm
I
sorry. I'm
said
sorry.
I said this is a hypothetical cheat. They don't make me go and do this, but maybe I might have to do it then, just to
Do it for the experience. Yeah.
think
See
I
how it
might.
feels.
Yeah, but I remember I had talked about how whatever you eat, it'll stay in like your system for like 7 days or something.
Maybe it did for me. I don't know. I might have stayed in for 6 months, but
Yeah.
it was okay. I'm still okay right now. So
Hey, that's great to hear. Oh, something that just just popped into my mind was I remember this was I think in our second year of university, I came back to visit and there was a
mhm.
party at
Yeah,
I don't it was a Halloween party
yeah,
and I
Halloween. I
think you
remember.
came and
I think
I
so, yeah.
do you remember what building that was or what street it was on? I don't remember Waterloo streets.
Columbia, I think, is what seems familiar.
I
It's
okay
probably like Columbia, University, Albert,
bro, you're just
or
listing
Phillips.
the you're just listing the main
Exactly.
streets.
The
Okay.
main four streets where all the student housing is at.
And I remember at the time, um, like I guess drinking is like a big thing in university, and I thought like, oh, in order to have fun, you have to drink. I remember I was offering you something, and you're like, no, no, like it's okay, I'm like working on something.
Yeah.
Um, like I guess I just want to ask you more about that. Like, what was your experience with like drinking or being peer pressured into it?
Oh, okay. So now we're into the deeper questions, right?
Yes, sir.
Drinking peer pressure is a big, for sure. It's especially in like high school and early stages of university, because everyone's doing it, and then if you don't, you're fully left out, right? And even if, especially if there are people that are closer with you, they'll pull the do this for me kind of thing, or like just trust me. This is you try to use that friendship or the friendship card to try to force you, which is kind of hard to deal with, but you just gotta have to have the reason why are you choosing to not drink or not do anything kind of thing, right? That just has to be a little bit stronger, which takes time to build, I guess, and you gotta have full commitment to it.
Hmm.
I hope I'm not just like saying words, but
No, yeah,
it's,
it
it's
makes
a feeling
sense.
that it's hard to describe. Peer pressure is hard for sure. I've definitely had to have gone through that in high school and stuff, and I did drink in high school and stuff, so that I've I've caved into the peer pressure. So now that I'm, I guess, older and stuff, I have more confidence, I guess, in what I'm trying to do and stuff. So it's easier to say no. But from a high schooler's perspective, where they might not have as much of a stronger grounding kind of thing, it would be harder to. It'd be easier to cave to peer
Hmm.
pressure.
And in high school, what was your drink of choice?
Drink of choice. I, Captain Rum, or what is it called? Captain
Like
Morgan.
Captain Morgan or something?
Captain Morgan. It's a rum.
Well, I guess that's how we can tell that you don't drink anymore because you just said Captain Rum.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So how would you deal with peer pressure if
Oh.
yourself in high school,
Oh,
flipping the tables on the interviewer?
bro, in high school, I just loved the idea of like drinking and smoking. Like it just, I think like media had like a big impact on me like growing up. So I always wanted to be like a cool kid, and I thought like
Yeah,
cool kids they drink.
it was portrayed as cool, right? Like if you
Yeah,
drink in here,
like whenever you watch like movies on Netflix or shows on Netflix of like high school students, like they're having these like massive parties, like people are drinking, and it's like
yeah,
it's portrayed to looks like so much fun, but from my experiences, like it's not that great.
it's a movie, right?
Yeah,
It's a made up, make believe kind of
yeah.
situation. So how would you have dealt with it? Like, let's say you had a friend who was like kind of peer pressuring you, or would you have just caved in?
Well, I think in high school I would have caved in, but now I have experiences with that because I joined a fraternity, and I
Hmm.
guess like a stereotypical thing that people do in fraternities is drink. Um, so in the beginning, like I didn't drink, and I was pretty good on that because I was committed to it.
Yeah.
But I was tempted because there's. Have you ever heard of like jungle juice?
No.
So I think it's like they have these massive like coolers, probably like from here to like here,
Yeah.
and then you fill it with a bunch of juice and a bunch of like alcohol. But the way you make it is like pretty cool because like for example, you have like 10 people around and
Hmm.
each person's holding like juice or like alcohol. So they're just pouring it all into this giant cooler and it looks like it's like so much fun.
Yeah. It's just a like a
And then
communal drink,
yeah, and like
or
the name tempted me so much, so I was like, yo, I just gotta try it out.
yeah.
And but I guess it's similar to your experience of I guess the what's it which experience? I think you were talking about like hold on. It's like the cheat day you had for the chicken. Like
Hmm.
it's like leading up to it, you think like, whoa, this is gonna be so sick. And then after
Let me just
you
have this cheat
actually
day.
sorry?
Like, let me just have this cheat day with alcohol for this
Yeah.
one time, just experience it.
And then you realize it's not as great as you thought it'd be.
Yeah.
But I think that can be said with a lot of things where in your head like you're like, yo, this is gonna be so sick. This is gonna
Hmm.
be so awesome, and then it actually happens and it's not as great as you thought.
Yeah.
But I think maybe that is because if you have expectations and then doesn't live up to that, then you'll be disappointed.
Yep. Expectations can lead to frustrations.
Is that a quote that resonates with you?
Yeah. I don't know if you can call it a quote worthy kind of thing, like an Instagram quote, but I think it's like a bit of truth. Expectations can lead to frustrations.
Well, I guess on that topic, like, do you have any quotes that you like live by?
um, nothing I can think of right now. I feel like they're always changing too. Just like what is the theme of the month, or like what's a goal, what's a current goal kind of thing. So right now, do I have a goal? Oh, I guess right now my one goal kind of thing would be trying to become more genuine with yourself and with others. Does that make sense? It's like
And
sorry, were you gonna say something?
no, please, you can continue.
Um, just be more truthful with how you are, kind of thing. Don't build a little image of how you're supposed to be like, and then live that out. So you gotta try to be more vulnerable, and just don't be afraid to be kind of your real self, kind of thing. So,
Uh, how have you been working on being more genuine with yourself?
Very slow little kind of steps. Like one day, I think recently in work, I kind of stood up for one small kind of thing, just a little kind of small thing where I think it was something I didn't agree with or something that didn't sit well with me. Me before 3 days ago would have just like said, okay, yes, sure. I say yes, no problem. It's a quick, easy way to get through it. But this time I'm like, oh no, I kind of don't want to do this. And then I kind of stood up for that. I'm like, oh wait, it kind of felt kind of good. Like there was a small rush. Like, oh shit, I'm actually standing up for something. And then uh, it was exhilarating kind of thing. And I hope I can do that, continue to do that more often. And then
I
currently
hope,
also working on that too right now in this interview.
yeah, I hope
Yeah.
you can continue working on that.
Yeah.
So like, what was the situation and like, how did you respond to it?
You want the details? Like I don't want to get too technical, but it was so our team is so what we do for all this stuff is at work we're trying to replace the water main, right? So what happens on this specific street, it's a downtown street, so there's a billion things that are underground, right? So what we want to do is we want to know what is underground to our best of our ability. So we want to know there's a gas pipe, also on this road. There's a sanitary pipe. There's a huge tunnel underneath and all that stuff. So what happens we need to find out this pipe for this company called N-Wave. So what happened was that our company also did this work for this other project for this other client. I feel like I'm getting too technical and it's hard to keep track or follow along. But basically, I needed help from another team of our company, but he's not on our team, and he helped us out and stuff and all that. And then it was kind of very informal. I was just kind of messaging him and stuff and like, oh, do you think you can send us the drawings for these pipes that we have put in and stuff like that? And then he's like, yeah, he helped out, send me the link for all those drawings and stuff. And then um, one of my other teammates wanted me to confirm everything in an email and then send it back to the person and be like, oh, can you please confirm this kind of thing as like kind of like a cover your ass kind of thing, if that makes sense. Like all the stuff I kind of informally talked with him, I trusted, I can take his word for it, and then we had in our chat kind of thing. But I guess from a corporate standpoint, you want to have everything in writing, and you want to make sure
Yep.
what he said is exactly in that email, and then so if he confirms to it, then we're not liable, or we're gonna pass on the blame to him, right?
Hmm.
I kind of didn't want to do that. I'm like, I'm not about this whole cover our ass kind of thing. I'm like, I trust he was pretty genuine with me, and I kind of want to take his word for everything that he informally spoke to me about. So I didn't want to do this. So instead of saying yes
Oh.
and sending off an email, I'm like, no, I kind of don't want to do this kind of thing. And then one of my teammates she actually reached out to me privately on the side, and she was like, oh, yeah, I think I know what you're trying to get at. And it's like, don't worry, you don't have to do it. You don't have to ask that person to confirm. You can just kind of say, oh, thank you for helping, and then this is what I kind of found out from you, and then no need to confirm, or
Hmm.
no need to pass on the liability to him, I guess you can say.
I think it's cool that you did that, and I think it's like little, like seemingly like little things like that that
For sure.
are like the experiences that really help you the most. Like that experience of you when you were like 6 and you saw like the garbage trucks
Garbage
and
truck, yeah.
the road work being done. It's like seemingly like a small thing, but I guess it leads you to where you are now.
Yeah. And it's also the ability to catch yourself, because for me, maybe 2 months ago, I would have just said yes, no problem, and send off the email, right? But then this time there was that little part of me that says like, you know what, this is not sitting well with me, and I kind of decided to explore that and stick with that instead of just passing it off like, oh, it's just nothing, and then just whatever. This is work. I'm supposed to just write the email, and then that's it. But this time I decided to kind of go with that little small voice.
I think it's good that you like listen to the voice.
Yeah, it's always there. You just gotta whether you choose to listen to it or try to focus and hear it.
And like
But yeah, it's
the
very small. For from another perspective, this could be something completely minor, right? Like the
yeah.
girl who told me to write the email, this one might have not been a big deal at all. But for me, it was like a pretty big kind of small step, but small step in the right direction for me.
And the girl who told you to write the email, was she like a supervisor, like a manager or something?
No, I think she's more like a colleague, like a peer, maybe like 2 years older than me, kind of thing. And then she's been with the company a bit longer than me, but I say pretty like peer, like.
Hmm. Nice. Okay, so I think I'm gonna ask my last question here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you had the ability to have a podcast or give a voice, well, if you had the ability to, have 30 seconds of everybody's attention, like what would you say to them or tell them? Like you could just have a megaphone that when you speak, like everyone
Yeah,
in the world can hear you.
yeah. Everyone in the world.
Yes.
Okay, but they're not gonna follow this, right? You can. There's no guarantee. Actually, that's silly to believe in that. Everyone's gonna follow whatever you say.
Oh, no, no. They can listen, but like with anything, if they choose to act on it, then that's on them.
That's on them. Yeah. 30 seconds. What would I say?
It doesn't have to be 30 seconds. It could be like one sentence or one word.
Mm-hmm. It is a kind of quite a tough question.
Or
Um.
or just so you have some time to think while I'm trying to, like, the reason I'm asking this question is
Yeah.
um in the podcast I've been listening to, the example they give is if there was a billboard that, let's say there's a massive billboard by the highway, and like, thousands of people every day they drive by it, like what message would you want them to read, if that helps you think of something better?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of things, right? I feel like it should boil down to something simple and elegant. But then for me, then again, it always changes with whatever I'm going through currently, kind of thing. Like I said,
Okay.
like this month's theme is, or reveal or become more of a genuine self, kind of thing. But
Oh.
um, like as a some kind of thing, I guess failure is kind of a good thing. Like the whole "don't be afraid to fail" kind of thing. That's a good thing to live by, I guess you could say. Whole first attempt in learning and don't be afraid of failures. I think we've been
Nice.
taught to avoid failure, and then we end up doing nothing or just don't progress. But how failure is a really critical part of it, and then it's actually one of the best teachers and one of the best gifts that you can actually get if you choose to see the failures as like and if you choose to learn from it.
Okay, okay. Actually, this will be the last question, because now that you
Okay.
mentioned like failures,
Yeah.
like, do you have a favorite failure? So what I mean by this is something that you thought you failed in, but it actually helped set you up for success in the future.
A bunch of things, but it's hard to pull one thing out of my mind. Can you help me out? Can you narrow it down? Like say something like
Um,
in university time or something that happened when you were with this, or
well, maybe whatever immediately came to your mind when I asked that.
I guess right now I can only think of the car, like the first car that I got, the Honda Civic. I thought because it was my first car, my main priority was price, kind of thing, and then safety features and all that was like secondary. So because of that, I thought so when the car did blow up, not blow up, but the engine got a hole in it, and then all the oil leaked out, and the engine was no longer good. It was obviously it seemed like a failure in the beginning, but then it taught like even if you were driving to Waterloo at 11 p.m. and your car breaks down on the 401 in the middle between Brampton and Milton near James Snow Parkway, and you somehow don't have your car's not the best. Like it doesn't have AC, it doesn't have rolling windows, and you got to get to. It doesn't have that. Like the rolling mechanism doesn't work.
Oh,
If the windows go down, they stay down. You need to have help from someone else from the outside to help push it back up. So even having all that stuff, it will you'll still be okay, kind of thing. Because I remember um, I had Anita in the car with me, so that was good to have a friend there. Alhin came out at um, not 3 a.m. He probably went to sleep at 3 a.m., but came at probably midnight to help uh, bring me to Waterloo to park the car. No, actually, and
Can you
then
can
slide.
you just can you just repeat the part where Allahan brought you back to Waterloo because you cut off?
Yeah. So Alhin came, he picked me up from the accident site, and then he took me back to his house where we parked the car, the broken car. Then he dropped me off all the way back in Waterloo. But we also picked up Psyche on the way too because we don't want Alhin to be driving alone at nighttime by himself. So we picked up Psyche, then
Wow.
we all went to Waterloo. He dropped me off. The most I did was pay for his gas. Yeah, I gave him like $20 for the gas that he drove, and then he drove back, and then yeah, he still went to work. I still went to work. Most of us all got back up the next day, and then it was still okay. But staff, I needed a car to get to work, right? So when I did show up, so I woke up again. I went to sleep probably at 3 a.m. Woke up at 5, and then I took the public transit. I took the Waterloo bus from. Thankfully, there was a bus stop close by, all the way to work. And then I showed up and told my boss the situation, and then he uh, he was reluctant, but he gave me the keys to the company truck. So it was a truck that was slated to be also demolished, kind of thing, like given away, because its brakes were super. They were kind of basically non-existent. So he was reluctant to give it to me, but he's like, since you showed up to work, here, take the car, but just drive it to the site, park it there, and then drive straight to the house. So even not having a car and all that stuff, it's still the day still went out pretty well. And then not even don't even get me started about the next few things. Like Shrine came the next day from Scarborough to help me out by he drove me back to Scarborough so we can. I mean, he drove me back to Brampton so we could look at the car again. And then we found the hole in the engine. And then he drove me back home. Then I took my mom's car, and then life continued on.
Oh, so like just so I can understand, it was seemed to be like a failure because your car broke down, but throughout all of this, you had all these friends come and help you out through it
Yeah,
all.
just a string of experiences just followed right after, and then taught me that you're gonna be okay and stuff. You don't
Mm,
have to do anything alone.
I think that's something that like that's like a quote that I've recently really enjoyed. Like you never have to do anything alone.
It's such a nice and comforting kind of
Yeah.
feeling, especially when you're doing something big or like taking that big leap of faith to step towards something, and you know that you're not doing it alone. That just gives you that greater force to do that thing with
Mm,
whatever you're trying to do or achieve. It's amazing.
nice.
It's a nice feeling.
Well, I think that's all of the questions I have. Do you have any, closing remarks or anything?
It was fun. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was really fun. I liked it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna send you a feedback form so you can give your feedback.
Actually,
Nah, I was just kidding. But
okay.
I'm just
Well, yeah, we can
interested.
talk about feedback
Yeah.
after. Sure.
No, can we talk? Can we talk about it now? Like, I just want to know your
Yeah.
experiences with it. So
Yeah.
from the time that we started around like 8:20ish. So this is about an hour. It felt like how long did it feel like for you?
It felt like 20 minutes for me.
Hmm. Okay,
Yeah,
so
because you were good at pulling me along with the questions, and like it was pretty natural and organic. I can say
hmm,
that was nice.
I think I think it was pretty nice. Like what I think what I've noticed was you would talk about something and then the following question I would lead up was relating to it. Like I tried
Mm.
to not just, jump from one question to the next, to the next, to the next.
Yeah, I love that. I love how it's all spontaneous and like it's it's different.
Well,
I bet you can have your same set of questions and then interview
yeah.
different people, but you will get different questions and stuff like that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
Like if you have the same set of questions and you ask that, or you start off by asking them,
yeah.
you'll end up with a whole different podcast every single time.
Because like it'll lead to like different things, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
If
that
you can
is
pull
that's
out the little experiences from everybody and stuff, and then
yeah,
find related questions, I think that would make your podcast
yeah.
yours kind of thing.
Oh, I think that's the that is like the interesting thing about hearing about other people's experiences. Like it's always going to be different. Like even if I asked, you shine the exact same questions, we'd probably end
Exactly.
up in a different place.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
It's a
well,
butterfly effect, isn't it?
the butterfly effect is like if you kill a butterfly here or something in the other side of the world, there's gonna be an earthquake or something.
Yeah, but it's trying to explain how the smallest change in initial conditions can lead to the biggest change in further on.
Hmm.
So that flap of a wing from that butterfly can eventually cause a hurricane back in the Caribbean
Oh,
because of that air shift or whatever, saying that. But if that butterfly didn't flap it, or if flapped it a second later or something like that, that initial change or the change in initial condition would have changed the course of the future kind of thing.
hmm.
It's kind of trying to explain how chaotic everything is, and
Hmm.
everything depends on how everything is kind of set in motion by the smallest of changes. So if you think
Interesting.
about that, then all the whole small changes that you're trying to do in your life are actually small. They're actually pretty big.
Oh, that's interesting. Hmm. Do you have any other feedback on what I could do better, what I did well, or what you liked?
Again, I like the whole asking questions. Like you were prepared, so you did your job of doing your work by getting prepared and stuff and researching on the person kind of thing, and then you were also ready to, um, based on how the answer and stuff, cater the questions to them and stuff. So that was good. Anything to improve other than the technology and internet connection? That that's beyond us, I guess. But
Yeah,
um, I don't know. I think it was well. And this is obviously we're testing this out, so you'll get more. You'll
and
get
is
better at this.
yes. And like let's say if I were to post, are you comfortable with me posting this? Like is there anything that we talked about where you're like, like maybe I should try to edit it out or anything?
You have to like bleep out any of my certain details or anything. No, I think I'm okay with it.
Okay.
All of
Well,
it.
thank you for today.
Yes, thank you. It was fun. It really felt like a legit kind of interview on like a
Yeah,
legit podcast.
this is so like how like what I'm experiencing is like it doesn't even seem like I'm
It doesn't
talking
seem
to
like work.
you. Or, yeah, it doesn't seem like work. It doesn't seem like I'm talking to you. It's like
Just a conversation.
yeah, and it's like I'm getting to know you better. Like
Yeah.
it's like I knew like very surface level details about things. Like for example, your car breaking down, but I didn't like in my head. I was like, oh, it's probably in the afternoon and it just broke down. But then you were describing how it's like at midnight, and then all of these friends came along. Anna
Yeah.
said like, yo, friends come faster than 911, and I guess it's kind of
They did.
true in this case.
Yep.
So yeah.
No, it was, yeah, exactly. That's a fun way to do this. I like how there's a bit of structure to this. It's not too spontaneous. Like it's like going for a drive outside and us just talking, but then there's some structure to it which helps. It's like a structured date.
Can you like elaborate on what you mean by structure?
Like because you had the set of questions and then we're sitting down and we're dedicating this time to talking. It's it gives it that, what does it give? I don't know. I'm unstructured right now.
Oh, I kind of get an idea of what you're saying. Like we planned like to start at a certain time, and then we dedicated the time to actually finishing it.
Hmm.
So
Like we're all giving our full attention to this right now, and it's not
yeah.
like a side thing.
Oh
So
yes.
because of that, I feel like it was a really nice in-depth kind of
Oh,
conversation like that.
that I think that's a really good way to describe it. Like
Yeah,
when you're fully like focused on something, then it's like you get a lot more from the experience versus like if I'm like checking my phone or like watching
exactly.
TV while also doing this.
Yeah, even if you're going for a drive, or even when you're driving, the driver has to be have his focus on a little bit on the road and stuff. So it's there's a part that's missing. But
Oh,
even
yeah,
right now,
yeah,
when we're
yes.
sitting down and it's nice.
Okay, that I agree. Okay, I think I'm gonna end it here because I think if we just keep talking, we'll just keep talking.
We would, right? I guess that's a
So
skill too of how to end a conversation properly.
that is true. I think that's why I think what yeah, I'm just gonna
End it right
uh
now.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
No, thank you.
That's one thing I forgot to do, or I wanted to do, but we kind of jumped into the beginning. I want to shout out to the groom of those, but
Oh, geez, yo, you, for next time.
for next time, exactly. I hope there's more.
I think there will be. I think this is the start of something beautiful.
Good, good. I like to hear that.
Okay, I'm gonna end
Okay.
this now.
Yes. Goodbye.
Take care.